Camo is a application that can run on your Mac, on Windows, on Android, on iPhone. And it's really a web-based or a webcam-based application that helps make your webcam, iPhone, whatever you might be using, look a little bit more presentable, specifically if you're using it as a virtual camera into your live streams, recordings, and things like that. Only music is coming through. What's happening? What's happening? That's weird. It must be on one of the scenes. Let me just double check the sound on a second. Nothing wrong with technical problems on a Sunday. Hopefully that's working now. You just have to let me know, Saeed. Give me a thumbs up in a second if the sound is coming through or not. I hope it is. It should be. I'll wait. Have a cup of tea. I think it was on one of the scenes, actually. I must double check that on the AutoCam scenes. Ah, sounds good now. Okay. Yeah, you're right. It is actually muted on one side. Let me just flip through those. Well, that's fun. That shouldn't happen, should it? Okay, and then we've got on the tail. All right. All right, so the sound was muted. Let me start that again then. Welcome, everybody, to Sunday Night Show, 4 times streaming this week. And I thought tonight I'd just share a application that I've been testing. It's in beta at the moment, but there is an older version. So I'm using something called Camo Studio, and that works on the Windows version. It's a macOS app as well as running on iPhone and Android. And it really is an application that allows you to level up your video content. So it's going to basically take an image from your iPhone, your Android phone, or any webcam that you got connected to your machine, and allow you to tweak and change and do things with that as well. Let's just say hello to Hi. How's it going? Thanks for joining tonight. So if you've ever used Camo before, or you've got a webcam that you really want to start tweaking, it allows you to adjust things like color and white balance and all kinds of fun stuff. So let's get into it. Let me just go on to the Camo Studio app, move the eCam window out of the way. That seems to be preview mode, and let's go into share. All right, so let's take a look at this. So this is Camo Studio, and hey Stefan, thank you for joining tonight as well. Very kind of you to be here. We're just having a hangout. It's just a casual hangout. So Camo Studio can be used on the Mac, as I said, on Windows, and so on. So really, there's 2 parts to this application. Let me just go back to full screen for a second. So there's 2 parts. The first part is the Windows or Mac app that you can download to your desktop. This is currently in beta, but there is a version that you can get. I'll put the link in there in a second where you can get hold of it. And then the second application runs on your phone. So if you've got a phone that you want to use, then you have to download the Camo app. This is all free at the moment. I'm not paying for anything. You can pay for a pro version that gives you 4K and all that kind of good stuff, but I'm just testing it, so there's no need to go crazy and buy any versions at the moment as well. The other good news about this app is that if you've got a Tiny 2 or any of the Obsbot cameras or Logitech webcam, any of the older webcams, you can actually use that for this as well. So this is Camo Studio, and this is what it looks like. So it's a little bit more than just an application that helps set up your camera with your iPhone or something like that. You can actually put scenes and overlays. This version allows you to record as well, and it does have the virtual camera output. So anything that you create and put in this particular scene, you can then output to things like Zoom, Teams, Google Meet, throw it into OBS, eCam, whatever you want. So you can use this app really to tweak and change the look and feel of your camera and layout, and then you can output that as a virtual source into your respective application. So if you've got any questions, just feel free. I'm just going to post a link in the chat for Camo, so hopefully that'll pop in. So you can get the beta version here if you go to reincubate.com/camo beta, then just click on that link and you can sign up to be part of the beta testing, and that's what I'm doing at the moment. So let's show you the interface real quick. It's nothing too complicated, but it's quite fun. So at the moment I've got my iPhone connected. This is my older iPhone 13 Pro. I'm using the rear facing camera because it gives you obviously a little better image than the selfie camera, but you can flip and change any lenses that you want. So on this particular side here, we've got the video device. So at the moment, as I said, I'm using the iPhone, and any camera that's connected to your device, in which case I'm using a Mac at the moment, but any camera that's connected to the device will be shown in this list here. And you can pair a device as well by using the app, as I mentioned, but it's pretty much plug and play. I just downloaded the app, connected my phone, and bingo, it basically got working. We've got Chris in the house. Hey Chris, thanks for joining. You are a Camo user. Fantastic. Good to hear. So thanks for coming along. I don't know whether you've used this app before, but it's pretty similar to the iPhone app, but this is a standalone app now that you can use on the Mac. So the good news is that you can actually use any lens that you want as well. So we've got the wide angle lens, ultra wide, which is it's a weird looking view of my beautiful attic room that you can see here. And then we've got the telephoto, which is ultra zoom in, and nobody wants to see that this time of night. Sorry for frightening the children there as well. Saeed says he'd like to recommend Camo for people that find tools like OBS or Ecamm overkill. Yeah, if you just want to add your logo and cropping the camera in and changing things and tweaking, absolutely. Because this version doesn't yet allow you to stream, but the other versions of Camo do. So you can actually stream directly from this into YouTube or any of your streaming destinations as well. I did speak to the development team, and in this version of Camo Studio, they will be adding the feature to stream as well. But right now you can just record and things like that. So there's a couple of things you can do with this straight out the back. You can change the focus settings. So at the moment, if you hover over, you'll get little tooltips. Well, you should get a little tooltip. Let me just click on this. This will give you the different sort of areas to focus. So you can focus at a selected point. And then this one is autofocus. So this is going to set this is the manual focus setting. So now I can just tweak and change this if you don't want the focus hunting that goes on. I do find sometimes with the iPhone app that if you're sort of punching in or you're showing things to the camera and things like that, it is going to give you that sort of focus breathing that I don't particularly like, and it's sort of where the focus is hunting. So you can actually just change that if you want here to be in manual focus mode. I'm going to put it back to autofocus for now. So obviously if you hold something up to the phone, it's going to try and snap to the focus. It's going to try anyway, at least. There you go. And you can see that little sort of focus hunting that's going in on the background. Spotlight mode. So let's take a look at this. So it increases the contrast between the speaker and the background. It's enabled at the moment, and you can see if I enable it and disable it, it's changing the contrast between me in the front of the camera and what's behind me. So if I turn this on, it's set to 49%, and I just turn it all the way up, you can see that it's effectively darkening the background and lightening me at the front. So it's quite an interesting filter. A lot of these controls aren't available on your standard webcams, even on your iPhone. So it's nice to have a lot of control over the camera effects and things like that, especially if you've got an older iPhone and stuff. So I find that quite interesting. There's also a bunch of filters in here. So you can change all the stylize of the filter, pop. You can see it's a little bit sort of changing my weird colors in the background there. Let's see what else this does. Just RGB. Okay. And then you've got cool, which is obviously going to make the temperature look a lot less warm and so on. Let's just leave it as none. You've also got some effects on here. We couldn't load more modules. Okay, so there's no more effects listed on here at the moment. Now framing is an interesting one, because if you haven't got an OBSBot camera that will do auto framing, keep you in track and things like that, then you can sort of fake the framing mode that you get on here. It's a bit like the modes that you get with the Apple software, where it's going to sort of do the portrait mode, then keep you in sort of desktop mode and focus and things like that. So in the framing here, you can basically have these different settings. So the first one is manual. You can control the zoom and pan. So you can just manually control the zoom and pan like you do. You can just move it around by dragging this control here. We'll put that to default. This one, the second one, is auto without zoom. So if I just click on this, if I start moving around, it's actually supposedly keeping me in the frame. I'm just going to move out the frame. It's not following me. So automatically pan to keep you in frame, maintaining the zoom level. It's basically not working in this particular case. But if I switch on the zoom now, that's going to keep me dead center. So that is very similar to the sort of artificial framing that you get with a lot of these other cameras as well. I wonder why that one's not working. Maybe I had to zoom in a little bit. Yeah. So for this mode, where it sort of adjusts without the zoom, I'd have to zoom in a little bit into the frame to keep me sort of centered. And then it's just going to pan left and right if I move out of that frame. That's pretty cool. Let's have a see what the comments are. Let's just go back to host mode. So Chris says he uses Camo as an alternate camera with my iPhone. If someone doesn't want to see something on the stream, I don't have a camera placed on it. Good for behind the scenes stuff as well. AI is not following me. Yes, it isn't following me. What can you do? Never mind. I don't mind. Let's go back to sharing. You know, live demos and all that. What can possibly go right with live demos? Let me zoom back out. Okay, so here's where you get into the sort of the nuts and bolts of changing the look and feel and the quality of the image. The iPhone out of the box, I haven't tweaked anything with this camera. So the iPhone I do find is a little bit warm. I mean, you can tweak your colors to your own delight. At the moment, it's not set to auto exposure. So I'm going to set that to auto exposure now. And you can change things like shutter speed, ISO, and so on. So you can make the image brighter by increasing the ISO or ISO. You can change the shutter speed down. At the moment it's set to, it should really be set to 1/50th. So I'm going to change that to 1/50th because I'm on 24 frames a second, and then can tweak the ISO. But the exposure is being taken care of by the settings at the moment in Camo. It's also adjusting the white balance automatically by switching this button on here. So that's basically the camera's reading what the ambient light is in the room and adjusting the white balance accordingly. I actually like setting everything to manual. So I'm going to set that to manual. I'm going to see if I can change that. You can actually change the tint as well. You can go full orange if you want to, and I'll just tweak that back a little bit. And obviously change the temperature. So I like the fact that the temperature you can change as well and make it more in line with the rest of your cameras. The exposure, I'm just going to turn the exposure down a little bit and keep my shutter speed at 1/50th of a second. I was getting a tad confused actually before because auto is to the left and manual is to the right. It's opposite of some controls, so that's why. So the flash level, any phone that's got a flash, you can actually enable that. So if you've got bad lighting, you can actually increase the light that I'm using on the camera to light up your face. So it's great that you can use it as a sort of a backup light if you want, but we'll turn that off at the moment. You can also tweak the brightness, turn that up, and all that kind of stuff. So you get the gist that you can really sort of tweak and dial in your settings to make the camera colors and quality look exactly what you want. And then you can also add some in-camera sharpness. I wouldn't recommend doing that because there's a lot of sharpening going on in iPhone cameras as it is, and I don't really want to play around too much with that. So the controls at the top are the camera, audio, and layers. So if you just toggle, you can get full screen if you want. Now, the good thing about this as well, which I think is really cool, is you can set whatever microphone that you want on here, pick from the list, and obviously you can set the audio delay. Now, all that means is if your audio is slightly out of sync with respect to your video, as inevitably it happens because there's latency associated with processing in your machine. So sometimes you will get that out of sync between the audio and video. You can actually compensate for that by changing this audio delay. And this is only going to affect the output of this setup that's going into something like OBS, Ecamm, and so on. But we don't need to tweak that at the moment. Now the layers are interesting because this is basically going to allow you to now tweak and change what is in the scene. So effectively you've got the concept of scenes and overlays and widgets and things that you can bring into this to make it a little bit more custom to your brand, for example. And you get a ton of templates already with it. So for this one in particular, there's only two layers at the moment. There's the background layer, which you can't see because the iPhone is full screen, and the iPhone itself. Now you can just click pinch and zoom. And this would be sort of your camera scene as if you were setting things up in OBS, for example, or Ecamm. And the background you can change and add whatever you want. So we can change that to a fill color. Here you can do gradients, you can import images and so on. So the idea is that you can build up a nice looking scene with some overlays and graphics, and we'll show you a couple of those in a second. So let's just put this back to full screen. I'm bringing this camera image straight up. Let's go back to camera. So over here on the right, you've got these things called, well, these are your scenes basically, and you can get these downloaded directly from the Camo site. They come pre-canned, and as you can see, we've got some for LinkedIn, some for YouTube, and these are the sort of default names. You can change this to your own name and things like that. You've got one for Instagram. There's some quite nice ones actually. You've got sort of ones with overlays pre-built in. So you've got your name at the bottom. You can add another graphic here, a logo or something like that, whatever you want. And they've also got this one, which is pretty cool. I have to change the camera for this one because it was set to the tiny camera before. So you can tweak and change this, and you can switch, I think, between different scenes, and you can then create, I think you can have like a zoom on this one. So let's just try that. So you can zoom this camera and pan it into here. I'm hoping that it would no, it's actually persistent across each one. So you can't set the camera settings, zoom level, colors and things like that on a per scene basis. It's a global setting. So let's just put that back. Let's take a look at this one, front and center. I quite like this one actually, because what it's doing on here is adding some camera blur into the background as well. So you can change the different levels of camera blur here as well in the spotlight modes. So you can have portrait mode, and you can change the sort of the different depth. So you can have this fake blurriness, which is quite nice because it gives you a little bit of a false bokeh effect with a shallow depth of field. Although in this particular case, it's also making the microphone. You can see it's sort of changing as I move the microphone. I move my hand over the microphone, should I say. So it's less intrusive, I think, this background portrait mode than something like Zoom, where you get that crazy halo over your hair. The other one is a privacy, so that's like blocking out the background, and you can control the intensity of that as well by adding the spotlight feature on there. And then this one is green screen. Now this is fake green screen. This is like, I don't have anything in here. This isn't the best, and I'm convinced you can do some tweaking. And if you have a physical green screen, you can bring that on as well. That's not the best. So I'm going to move that out the way. Let's just say hello to John. Hello, John. Thank you for joining. I'm just playing around with Camo Studio at the moment. I don't really use it in anger, but I have been playing with the iPad version, which is great for live streaming and stuff like that. And they are tweaking and changing that. So this is the desktop version where you can play around with tweaking the camera colors and making scenes and things like that, and have a virtual output from Camo into something like OBS, Ecamm, Zoom, and anything like that. Privacy mode, if you want to be on camera, but kind of not. Yes. It's privacy mode for hiding all the books, children's stuff behind you. You know, if you're working from a bathroom, I don't know, but privacy mode is quite interesting. And it's okay. You can't really change the level of privacy mode. All you can do is tweak up the spotlight on your face. I mean, I'm just looking at the artifacting. Yes, if you lean in, you can start to see a lot of artifacting going on. So I think we'll just keep it as a normal background for now. But again, it's a nice look if you want to just do a little bit of subtle tweaking and not make it too crazy. I kind of like that. I think I'll just stick with that for now, for a second. And then there's obviously Anywhere Studio, which then puts this fake green screen, and I don't know what it's doing there, but it's obviously zooming in and doing all kinds of fun stuff. So I like the front and center. So a few of these things in terms of scenes, you can import scenes, create a new scene. All these ones here are changeable with hotkeys, so you can flip between them. Let's see if this works. So you can flip between each of the scenes just using hotkeys, as I'm going through them now. So it's pretty cool. And anything that you put in this main window here is what's going to be outputted to your sort of tool of choice and things like that. So let's see what John says. John says he has yet to meet a background removal tool that is better than the real green screen chroma key. Yeah, but it's not always practical. Yeah, it's always best if you can do stuff in camera with a physical green screen. I agree with you. I think that's always the best option. I think the zoom one is terrible, and everybody's got accustomed to that because lots of people just see everybody on Zoom, and yeah, it doesn't look the best, I have to say. And you're right. I think having a proper green screen and then using chroma keying to take it out, you can get some really, really decent results and stuff like that. So let's look at some other settings. I can't remember where everything is. So let me just go into gallery. And this is my scenes gallery. So these are all the ones that I've downloaded. I'm suspecting that as Camo or Reincubate, the company that makes the Camo software, have updates and things like that, then this is where you would typically see some of these coming in. You can favorite them as well, and then we can tweak them and so on. Now, you can also look at the ones here that we've got for different settings. So you've got the professional, social, streaming, and utility. So the watermark, you've got a little icon there at the bottom and so on. I think I've downloaded most of these anyway. Team meeting, let's just quickly download that one. And as it downloads, it pops them to the top, I think. Yeah. And then for social, we've got all these, as we mentioned, with Instagram and X. And for streaming, we've got different ones. Oh, Dreamy. Let's download Dreamy. And then for utility, you've got things like off camera and then so on. So these are quite good. So let's just download a couple of these. So to get yourself positioned and centered correctly, typically I use an overlay that I have in Ecamm and so on that'll help me basically get the alignment using the rule of thirds. But with this, you can just click on a scene and automatically, I obviously need to high myself up or move the phone down a little bit to get myself in the right sort of position, which is really cool. And this one is really good, I think, especially if you send it out to clients who are joining calls, then you can get yourself right in the center and so on. I'm quite twisted at the moment because my phone is here and my main stuff is there, but you get the idea. And I like the fact that they've included these things in there as well. And then the vignette is a nice little bit of vignetting around the edges there. I'm not sure if you can actually tweak that vignette. Let's go into layers a second up here. I don't think you can. Let's have a look. So we've got the position, we've got the iPhone, and then we've got the background. So no, I think it's just standard stuff. So we can't really do much with it. So let's go into this dreamy setting a second. Oh, look at that. The microphone is almost coming through the moon shape there. Very nice. So if we go into the layers, then this is where you can change things. So if you double click on here, you can move this around. You can basically add the text that you want in here. Now there are parameters already set up, which is where you see these parentheses here, for example. So you can set some defaults with the respective overlays and things like that, which will help not having to keep changing these. So you just change them in one place and then they will cascade down into all the others. In this particular case, I'm just going to change this to MySpace for now, and we'll just keep it at that. But you get the idea. You could basically change these and set them up. You can also change your name, and then you can change the image and so on that we've got here as well. And then the layer is again adding another phone. And I think you might be able to add another camera. Let's just check that a second. Can I add another camera to my layer? So let's add plus, and let's add, I don't think you can actually. Once a camera's been added, you can only add some shapes, so basic circles and things like that, but you can't really put anything in it. Let's just delete that one. Let's see what else we can add. So you can have images, right? Yeah, okay. So you would build something like this maybe in Canva, or you can get them from the Camo site. But obviously, I know people who use OBS and StreamYard and other things. You can build these in your editing tool of choice and then set it up, and then you can upload them into your scenes here in Camo Studio. So let's see what else we can do. So the profiles, if you look here, there's different sets of profiles. And I did ask them something that was confusing me, because there's one here that says for streaming, but there's no option at the moment to stream to any destinations from this software. So that is coming, I believe, but it's not specifically in this version at the moment. So what you can do is you can just set up a recording in here, and you can change and add these to the profiles. But right now, only streaming is not supported, just recording at the moment. And I think for this version that I'm using, which is 720, I can't you can only change this to 720. You can't go any higher. So if you look here, if I try and go to 4K or 1080 or even vertical in 1080 mode, then only 720 is supported in the free version. And I think it's like $30 or $40 a year if you want to get the pro version with this. It's well worth it if you're just using this as your main sort of streaming tool, for want of a better term, in your setup. So let's take a look at what else we've got here. I can actually start recording if I wanted. I'm just going to stop that for now. Let's see what else we've got in here. I mean, it's a very simple app, but it's really good for people that just don't want to have the mess, as Saeed said, of using OBS or the hassle of setting up things in Ecamm. It's just a very simple way of making your sort of visuals and presentation, if you're in a Zoom call or something like that, look a lot better than it would do on a standard thing. Let's go and have a look at some of the comments for a second. Saeed says, so NVIDIA Broadcast has a pretty decent background removal and blur. I use it on my camera. People think I use a DSLR. Yeah, I did notice with your setup, actually, Saeed, that your camera looks really good. And I think you're using an Elgato Facecam Pro, if I'm not mistaken, when we last spoke. And I think the overall quality of your image looks really, really good. And there's no artifacting with the background stuff, which also looks nice. I just need to turn off my preview mode in Ecamm because it keeps on popping up. I need to get rid of it because it's annoying. So let me just program window. Bye-bye. All right. John said, you should probably have an overlay like that. Yeah, I think the NVIDIA stuff looks really good. Yeah, just a running joke with MySpace. I was reading an article the other day about the founder of MySpace, how he made his fortune and didn't sell to Facebook, and then Facebook took over, and well, the rest is history, but there you go. So yeah, it says 720 is more than enough for virtual cam in Zoom. Yes, exactly. So right off the back, you can use Camo right now in your Zoom and team calls without having to worry about upgrading. And the nice thing is as well is that they haven't, as far as I can tell, and I'll run Zoom up in a second, I don't think there is a watermark with this. So where you have with some programs, you know, you get the watermark unless you buy the actual version. I think it's great that they're giving you the 720 capability without having to go crazy and so on. So let me actually run up Zoom. Zoom, zoom, zoom. This is where my machine is going to die, having too many things on here and multiple cameras as well. Let's just go and switch to AutoCam for a sec while I find out Zoom. Zoom takes some time. Okay, let me just get the settings for Zoom. Whilst you're waiting, enjoy the music. Settle back. Settings, settings, settings. Let me just get a cup of tea. I think you're right, Saeed. I think having the no watermark is only for, yeah, the higher paid features. Let's just go to that one. So yeah, no watermark. I think streaming at high resolution is the only difference between free and paid plan. Yes, I think you're right there. So let me see if I can get up my Zoom settings. This could get messy very quickly. Just cut down a few of these things. All right, so let me go to share. Okay, so here are my Zoom settings. Hopefully you can just see these. I'm just going to go to video and I'm going to pick Camo camera. Yeah, so you can see, I think, that there is, let me just turn on reactions. There is no watermark here. So straight away you can use the Camo camera and all its overlays and all the fancy stuff in zoom, and it looks pretty good. As long as you click on HD on zoom, we are good to go. So it's a really nice way of changing the look and feel of your camera. And as I said, I'm not using an expensive camera here. This is an iPhone 13. I don't know how old it is now. Is that 4 years old? 5 years old? I have no idea. I can't keep up. I don't upgrade my phone every year like a lot of people do. I don't see the point unless there's something compelling. I think it was only really the battery in the iPhones in the good old days where they used to sort of die after a couple of years and made you buy the actual phone. But in this case, I'm sticking with my 13 until the battery dies on it, and then maybe I'll go and get something different. Let me go back into Camo Studio. Let me go into share. All right. Oh, my phone has gone quiet. What's going on? Let's have a look. There it is. It's back. So what other things do we have here? Blank. Okay. Yeah, I mean, there's not a ton of customization, but if you are inclined to have your own branding and colors and you can bring in your own graphics, I like the fact that they're not sort of prohibiting you from adding your own graphics, like the free version of StreamYard, for example, or even Restream and others. If you were using those tools, you're limited with what graphics you can bring in. You always have the watermark, and there are certain things that you can't do with logos and stuff like that. So this, I think, is pretty customizable when it comes to sort of having layers. And as you can see, you can bring in these images. I can bring in my image that I want to. I'm not going to search through all my stuff for now, but you get the idea that you can just bring these images in and you can move them around wherever you want. So you could bring the text in, move the text around and stuff like that. And then you can save that as a default, save that as your own, change the colors and do other things. In fact, I think it even supports all the different custom fonts as well. So I think I've got a ton of different fonts in here. So yeah, you can use Impact, for example, and all that good stuff. Let's see. Yes, it's about 3,000 euros difference in iPhone generations. Yeah, that's a lot. It's a lot of money now. Who would have said, or who would have thought years ago, if you said to me 10 years ago that you'll be buying a phone, it's going to cost you 1,000 euros, 1,000 pounds, I'd be like, guys are crazy. But there you go. Anyway, the less features, options, and choices you have, the easier to get started for non-geeky people. Yeah, and I think that's a great thing with Camo because it's really aimed at sort of entry level, just getting the best out of your images, not overwhelming you with all the different options. And if you've got a basic understanding of how sort of cameras work, and you can tweak everything anyway. You can set everything to auto if you want and just tweak the colors and things like that. And just basic zoom and the framing, the blurring and things like that that you can get with Camo is really useful. And the fact that it's all free to use and it looks really good straight out the bat with very minimal tweaking, I think is a great sort of addition for anybody who just wants to sort of get started. Now, I think when they release the option to go streaming, this could be your sort of initial basic streaming setup. I don't think they're going to be doing multi-streaming or anything like that. The Camo Studio for the iPad that I reviewed a long time ago, and I haven't really played with it for about 3 months now, had the option to pick a particular destination, but again, from a streaming perspective, it didn't allow you to do multi-streaming. So I don't know whether that's coming, but I did ask them about integration with things like Stream Deck, because I think with the Camo for iPad, it's really cool that you can just take your iPad with you. You can actually plug in a camera, a USB camera, OBSBot, whatever it might be. You can actually get a little hub as well, and then plug in your camera, your microphone, and away to go. So I think they might be introducing in the future, I hope, some Stream Deck capability where you could then use a little sort of Stream Deck, like one of these, little Neo, for example, take that with you, or even Stream Deck Mobile, for example. Something like that you could use, and then in conjunction with your iPad Studio, Camo Studio for the iPad, should I say. Yes, you can definitely use the Camo Studio for iPad and stream from that. I was just saying I don't think multi-streaming is available right now. So you can stream to a single destination from the iPad directly without a problem. But I don't think there's multi-streaming capability at the moment, I think. Let me just take a look. Actually, Camo Studio. I can see if I can pull this up real quick. Let me just go into here and see if I've got something for the iPad already as a scene. I haven't, but I can just flip that around. So let me just go to my sharing. And if I just change this, see if I can find the iPad. Actually, what I'll do is I'll do NDI. NDI. Okay. And let me just flip that around. Let me see if I can get that now. Actually, I can just bring it in as a camera. Let me bring it in as a camera source. Let me just hide this. Screen share. Let me bring in my other camera. Okay. So that is, see if I've got, I need to just make that a little bit bigger. Let's change that display because we're cropping up there a second. Let's do custom. I think that's most of it. Let me just see if I can get a bit more. Okay. So it might be a bit small on this screen, but let's leave it at that for now. So this is Camo for the iPad, and it's a similar workflow where you can set the different scenes and so on, and you can just flip between them. And then in terms of destinations, you've got different profiles here as well. So with this particular one, you can see that we've got 4K, 24 frames a second, 9:16, vertical, whatever you want. And you can obviously set whatever camera you've got here. And the camera's not on at the moment. But you don't want to see the camera because we'll be looking at it. It's just here right now. So you can just see it's here. It's this camera. Hello. And then from a streaming perspective, let me just look at the settings. So from a destinations, yeah, so you can add multiple destinations, but you can't multi-stream. So from here, I could stream directly to YouTube straight away from the iPad. And I think it's a really cool application. I really like the Camo Studio for iPad. And I think there's been a lot of tweaks that they've been doing recently, and hopefully they'll release a new version of it. And this app, the Camo Studio for iPad, is 100% free. They're not charging anybody for that. So you get all the bells and whistles of streaming, overlays, adding cameras, graphics, even screen sharing, bringing in another app. They don't support NDI at the moment or anything like that, but it's completely free. So just download that if you've got an iPad from the App Store today. This is running a 2-year-old, I think it's actually a 3-year-old iPad. I've not really had any glitches or problems with it. But if you want to know a little bit more about Camo Studio for iPad, I do have a quick overview tutorial video on my channel about that. I'm hoping that when a new version comes out, I'll be able to play with that a little bit more. All right. That's really all I was going to do today. I just wanted to have a quick chat. You can never go live too many times in a week. But anyway, a few plugs going on for this week. So tomorrow, I'm on another show with co-hosts with the Creative Amplifiers. This is the show where we do interviews and chats and really showcase the people who are in the creator space, specifically around eCam, but everybody's welcome. So tomorrow we have Dina De Hillig, who is a voiceover artist. So it'll be an interesting interview with her. So that's coming up. So check out the show at youtube.com/@creativeamplifiers. And then obviously coming up this week, we've got a couple of guests. We're going to do some work with Streamer Live on Tuesday. So Lux is going to join Martin McKenna and myself on the Vertical show. Streamer Live are bringing out some new custom things, some nice new tweaks to their visualizations. I'm not sure if they're going to be ready by Tuesday, but hopefully they will be. And if they are, we will go live and showcase them. And even if they're not, we'll go live and showcase other stuff. And then on Thursday, we've got Lee Warren on the Tech Talk Thursday show with Martin and myself. And I think that'll be it for this week. We've been really busy with live streams and content creation and stuff like that. But I really do like hanging out on live. It's just a really nice sort of format and way to just engage with people and tweak. And I do appreciate people that turn up and support me and join in with the conversation and things like that. So last 15-second call. If you've got any questions, thoughts, comments, anything that you'd like to see more of on a Sunday, I'm quite happy to go through different pieces of software and play around. I haven't really sort of played in anger with Camo Studio, but as we mentioned, there's not a ton of things that you need to really do with it. It's pretty much plug and play, get yourself set up, and you can start looking half decent using just an old iPhone or Android or anything that you might have lying around. Even old webcams could probably look decent by tweaking some things on the Camo Studio. All right. If there's no other questions or anything, you can always get in touch with me on this channel if you want to chat. I'm also obviously on LinkedIn. So I'm just going to post in the comments my LinkedIn there message as well. Thank you very much, John. Thanks for joining. You have a great week as well. Thanks for joining in the morning your time. Get in contact with me in LinkedIn. And anyway, I'll see you on the show tomorrow at Creative Amplifiers. And that'll be at 9:30 UK, which is 4:30 Eastern. And back for more shows later this week on Tuesday and Thursday as well. So until then, have a nice wonderful weekend. See you soon. Thanks for stopping by, everybody, and take it easy.